Good evening. The title of my talk is Estimating Arrival Time of Earth-Directed CMEs at In Situ Spacecraft Using Coronagraph and Heliospheric Imager Observations from Stereo. As it is well known that CMEs are the major driver of geomagnetic star, and also it has been researched by many one that nearly 83% of the geomagnetic storms are driven by coronal mass ejections, and very few, nearly 15 to 17%, are driven by co-rotating interaction regions. So it becomes very important to understand its arrival and the interaction process of these coronal mass ejections to the Earth's magnetosphere. This is the coronagraph, and this instrument is the heliospheric imager on board Solar Terrestrial Relation Observatory. Before the launch of this stereo, there was the major contribution in the knowledge of coronal mass ejections were obtained from the SOHO-LASCO, Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, and that coronagraph was the LASCO. So, but using the LASCO coronagraph, we always get the projection in images. So we could not determine the true speed of the coronal mass ejections towards the Earth direction. So first I will give the brief introduction, how I will start my talk, giving a small introduction, then the remote sensing observations of CMEs, and selected events what I have done, that during 2008 to 10, then its 3D reconstruction, these are the few methods, and then its in situ observations. CMEs are the very huge magnetized plasma which can cover a few tens of heliospheric latitude and longitudes. So it's very large structure, and near the sun up to 30 solar radii we used to observe the CME using LASCO coronagraph on board SOHO, but using this coronagraph we get the projected image. So we could not understand its true dynamics. But after 2006, because stereo launched in 2006, after that we could understand using 3D reconstruction, using the two viewpoints we can understand the true dynamics of CME, and then we can estimate its arrival. But here I will focus particularly the observation of CME using heliospheric imager, because this stereo coronagraph can only observe the CME up to 15 solar radii, and the true dynamics estimated within the field of view of coronagraph of stereo cannot be sufficient to predict its arrival near Earth, because there are many factors which influence the CME dynamics after core field of view, coronagraph field of view, like two CME can interact and there may be momentum transfer, and the estimated arrival may be wrong. And major importance is the solar wind. The solar wind acts as a drag force on the CME in which ambient medium CME is moving. So we also need to understand the hydrodynamic forces between the CME and the ambient medium to estimate its arrival time at the Earth. So this is the current status. Even using Secchi coronagraph data, we used to get the error of 10 to 20 hours in the arrival time prediction, because there are few models which reconstruct the CME using the two viewpoints of stereo. Stereo is the twin stereo spacecraft which is moving in the Earth's orbit in the ecliptic plane. One is moving ahead of the Earth and one is behind the Earth, lagging. So these two stereo spacecraft provides two view directions to look the CMEs, and then by using the 3D reconstruction we can understand the actual dynamics of the CME. But when we do the 3D reconstruction using stereo, there are major two assumptions regarding these points. First is the physics of the appearance of CME, by which we observe the CME. We observe the CME in the photospheric scattered light. So we always need to understand Thomson scattering phenomena, in which we look the CMEs. And second is the lack of understanding of physics regarding driving force and interaction of ambient medium. So we need to understand two things. First, how solar wind is acting as a drag on the CME, and second, the detail of the Thomson scattering. And this is the to and to in any model we need to we generally compromise with one, because the Thomson is, when we observe the CME in the photospheric light, which is the Thomson scattered light from the plasma electrons, we always observe the projected image, and that projected image is also the line of sight in suffers with the line of sight integration effect. So to deal all these scattering phenomena with images is little tedious. So we have some assumptions regarding Thomson scattering and at some models regarding this driving forces and its interaction. So I will come to remote sensing observation of CME. On stereo, there are 5 instruments. This is the extreme ultraviolet imager, first coronagraph, which can observe the 1.4 solar radii to 4 solar radii. This is the second coronagraph core 2, which can observe 2.5 solar radii to 15 solar radii. And this is the HI1 and HI2, which generally observe 15 to 19, and HI2 observes 70 to 330. But it is not always, because core 1 and core 2 are centered on the sun. The field of view of coronagraph 1 and coronagraph 2 are centered on the sun, while these two heliospheric imager HI1 and HI2 are off-centered. HI1 is centered at the 14 degree, while HI2 field of view is centered 53.7 degree. So according to the location of stereo spacecraft A and stereo spacecraft B, this distance will change, the field of view will change, but the elongation angle will be same. Heliospheric imager 1 have the angular field of view of 20 degree, while HI2 has a field of view of nearly 70 degree. So this is the angular span of HI2, 18.7 to 8.7. So the elongation angle means the angle between sun, observer and the feature. If any feature is supposed here, so sun, observer and feature, the angle at this observer is the elongation angle. So these are the field of view in terms of elongation angle. So as the stereo spacecraft will move, initially it was launched near the earth. A is moving this way and B is moving this way. So at the time of observation, like 2008, this was the position of A and B spacecraft. This 26 October 2010. So this again, A will go this way, B will go this way. So this distance will change, but the elongation angle field of view will be same. So what we have done here, how to convert this elongation angle to distance, because this field of view having the constant angular field of view is constant. So according to the stereo positions and where we observe the CME feature, we can convert the elongation angle to distance, and then we can understand the actual dynamics of CME. We selected these events from 2008 to 2010, and this covers the large angular separation between stereo. Like in 2008, the separation angle between stereo A and stereo B was nearly 19 degree, while at the time of 26 October 2010, the angular separation between stereo spacecrafts were nearly 140 degree or 150 degree. It changes between this. So there we have a range of angular separation. So our model can also be what we have done. It can be tested whether it works for the irrespective of the separation angle of the stereo spacecraft. This is the coronagraph core 2. This is the heliospheric 1 images, and this is the heliospheric 2 images. So I have here we have done here this line is the position angle, and this red is the 90 degree 0 degree position angle on the sun, means the north pole of the sun. So and this circular contours are the elongation angle. So here we can look, this HI1 has nearly 4 to 24 degree elongation angle each contours, and this nearly covers 18.7 to 88.7. So now any feature with this field of view can be tracked, and this the major work here is to convert this elongation angle to distance, and this horizontal line is the sun line. So any feature moving in this direction will be nearly along the ecliptic plane, and so it will have a major probability to hit the earth. So we have focused for only that event what I showed. These 8 events all are earth directed. So our this work will be only for the estimation of arrival of Earth directed CMEs. So first we did the 3D reconstruction using Secchi Core 2 images. This is the chronograph A and chronograph B images of the 26 October 2010. So this to do the 3D reconstruction to estimate the actual dynamics of CME, we use the epipolar constant, like which is in which there is a assumption that sun and the observer has a long distance, has a very large distance than the sun and feature. So we can assume that the line of sight from the two spacecraft C1 and C2 or A or B will be nearly parallel, because feature will be only here somewhere. So this assumption can be taken under the epipolar constant. If we take this assumption of epipolar geometry, which is called the epipolar geometry, then the line this will make a plane. The sun and the two spacecraft will make a plane, and in images this plane will intersect at a line. This plane, epipolar plane C1, C2 and M, will form a line in the respective images A and B, taken from the images this position and this position. So the epipolar constant gives us a way that if any feature is suppose identified at M, it will lie on the same epipolar line in both images. So we can track the feature in this image, and we can also track that same feature in this image. B images, A and B images, we can track only by looking along the certain epipolar line. Now the work has been reduced to search that image not throughout the image to any feature, not whole images, but along a certain epipolar line. So by selecting these features here and here in both epipolar images, we can extrapolate this line of sight in back direction, and we can get the actual the intersection of the line of sight, and that will be the true coordinate of the selected feature. Selected feature. Like here we can look in both images, the feature may look very different. Like if there are many points from B, this position right view, we can have this very small distance between the features, but from here all these will lie on the same one. So but by doing the 3D reconstruction, we can convert each points in the 3D space, and we can get its 3D reconstruction under the assumption of epipolar geometry. So we did this for CME of 12 December 2008, and we find that these are the height and velocity and acceleration and latitude and longitude of the selected feature. In this we have selected only one feature. Here we have selected the leading edge, first leading edge here, and we derived this true coordinate of the CME. We can look that this true coordinates, this velocity is increasing, and then it's little becoming constant. But if we look its SOHO images, and from there if we calculate its dynamics, it will be quite less. So from here we can understand that doing the 3D kinematics, or by estimating the 3D kinematics, we are getting the true dynamics, and if this true dynamics is used to predict the arrival time, it can work better than the SOHO projected speed. But what we found for the many events, that even using this true speed and assuming that after Core 2 field of view this will be constant up to Earth, the error in the estimated arrival time and the actual arrival time were nearly more than 24 hours. It means this speed of nearly 450 or nearly 500 is not the constant throughout the Earth, up to the Earth, from Core 2 field of view to the Earth. So now we need to understand what are the forces which are changing the dynamics, and the real and the true arrival time. We are not getting the true arrival time assuming this constant speed. So for this I use the geometric triangulation using the Secchi HI observation. This is only the Core 2 observation. Now we focus on the heliospheric imager, which can look the CME from Sun to Earth continuously. Like HI field of view covers nearly 15 solar radii to nearly 328 solar radii. So if we track this CME throughout the heliosphere from Sun to Earth, and then we can understand how the dynamics is changing, whether that kinematics can be reproduced with the some drag based model or some magneto-hydrodynamic model. So to try that, we assume that these are the A and B stereo spacecraft, and we are looking the feature moving this direction, P1, its position is changing up to P2, and this is the selected feature. So we know that from the stereo spacecraft location we are observing the Thomson scattered light. In Thomson scattered light we have the two component, radial component and the tangential component. If the transverse component of the Thomson scattered light will be always same irrespective of this angle, Thomson scattered angle Xi and Xb. So whatever this may be the angle, the transverse component, the scattered transverse component will be the same, but the radial component will change with this scattering angle. So if this feature is moving along the A, the intensity observed from A and B will be quite different. Thomson scattered intensity, the received intensity at the observer's position will be different. But we are since we are taking the CME is earth directed, so this Xia and Xib will be nearly equal. So the Thomson scattered intensity observed at these two positions will be nearly equal. So we are again taking these assumptions that our earth directed events is nearly along the sun earth line. So each observers from both viewpoints is nearly observing the same feature, like this. Here it is, then we are looking the same feature, and the different, this is the elongation angle alpha A and alpha B. So now we need only to understand that alpha A observed from the A spacecraft position and alpha B observed from the B spacecraft position can be due to only the only two viewpoints. So we again can do the geometric triangulation using this alpha A, alpha B and the positions of the spacecraft. So to do this, but before that here I want to so that in this we are not taking that geometry of the CME, although I have shown here the geometry, circular geometry, but when we are thinking that here we are looking the same points from the both viewpoints, but this means that we are reducing the whole CME structure to a point. It may be that B observer is looking some different point and A is looking some different point. So here I have shown that due to with some circular structure, like near the sun, CME is moving this way. The observer from one viewpoint is looking this structure, but in each images, as we are taking the successive images, the tracked feature is changing, because we are looking always the line of sight structure. So that due to Thomson scattering at the 90 degree, the Thomson sphere will be there. So we are looking always a different feature. It means strictly in principle we should take the geometry into account to get the more clear selected feature what we are tracking. But if I take here the CME as a point and assume that the same point is tracked in each successive image, so but it can work, so that I have applied here. And second, okay, but one thing, when any CME moves up to HI field of view, like after 15 up to earth, it becomes very diffuse. So to track a particular feature in both images, like if I can show here, this is the CME. Here anyone can track the leading edge, but as it moves to HI, like here, this is HI1, it becomes very faint, and it is very difficult to mark the leading edge up to HI2 and up to very large distances from the earth sun line. And in both images, in A image I can track this feature, in B images the same leading edge may not be tracked, it may be some different correlation, so that will be erroneous. So to make it very pronounced in the HI1 field of view, we use the technique of this height time. Initially it was known to height time technique, but since we are dealing with the elongation angle in the HI field of view, we use the elongation angle and time plot, which is called the J map. To make this J map, what we did that we took this images, and since we are taking the earth directed CME and this is the position angle of earth, In core 2 field of view, we took the nearly 5 degree position. This is the position angle. This is the position angle of Earth, nearly 84, and these all are the position angle, and these circular lines are the elongation angles. So along this Earth sun line, we took the position angle tolerance of 5 degree and extracted that slice in from each image. In core 2 we took the position angle tolerance of 5 degree, in Hi1 2.5 degree, and in Hi2 also 2.5 degree. So we extracted a slice from this image, and we again from the slice of this extracted slice, we took the elongation angle bin size. Like in this, elongation angle is increasing, so we took the specific elongation angles, like for core 2, this is the position angle, and this is the elongation angle bin size 0.01 degree, and for Hi1 and Hi2 0.075 degree. So we took the now we took the elongation angle bin size, and we took the resistant mean of the vertical column in these images. In this slice, we took the resistant mean of this vertical pixels intensity, all pixel intensity in vertical column. So now the CM is again reduced to a point, and this all resistant mean can be scaled, and it can be again stacked as a function of time. So in each image, one point will be here, and with increasing, the only one point where the intensity will be maximum, and we can track the CME path. Like here we can look on 12th December, nearly there are 2 successive CME. So we can track the we can track the CME in core 2, Hi1, and nearly up to Hi2. So by tracking the CME in Hi1 in this stereo A field of view, and again in stereo 2 field of view, we will get the elongation angle pattern with time. This elongation angle will be different here. At certain time, the elongation angle estimated will be different than in B spacecraft. So this elongation angles can be converted to, using the 3D reconstruction, we can convert the distance, direction, and velocity. So here we looked at CME have a deflection nearly from +10 to -5 or -4, and again along this is the sun earth line. So from eastward to westward, we have a deflection of CME, and even the 10 degree of deflection matters for the CME, because CME is a very huge structure. So if we miss the direction of CME, the forecasting of CME arrival at the earth may be erroneous. And if we look the speed, nearly we have the constant decreasing pattern of, means decelerating CME from 600 to nearly it comes to 400. This is the speed in the earth ecliptic plane, and this speed will be good proxy to predict its arrival in because at the earth we have, this speed has been derived from this distance. So now the goal is to understand whether this speed in the some drag based model can be used to predict its arrival time, or whether this pattern can be reproduced with the drag based model. So various drag based model has been developed. Here we use the Versnack drag based model, which assumes that there is a acceleration of the CME, and this drag acceleration is governed by the solar wind speed W and the CME speed V. So the difference in the speeds will decide the drag acceleration, and this is the gamma is the coefficient which depends on the area of the CME, ambient solar wind medium rho W, and the mass of CME, and CD is the drag coefficient. So again the area of CME will depend on the cone angle of the CME and its radial extent from sun to earth distance. So we can calculate the density, ambient solar wind density, using the LeBlanc model. So this is the model, and again this can be derived using the, at L1 point near the earth we have the spacecraft which measure the density. So W1 is the solar wind density at 1 AU. 1 represents the value at 1 AU. So from this we can use the ambient solar wind speed and velocity of the CME using this gamma. This gamma is the CME characteristic, which explains the CME characteristics. So using this we can we can predict its arrival. Means in the Hi2 field of view or in Hi1 field of view, up to what distance we have calculated the speed and distance. If that can be used in this model as an input, and we try to predict its arrival near the Earth, because this event could not be tracked nearly up to Earth. It can be tracked only up to 150. So Earth is nearly up to 212 solar radii. So this kinematics is used as an input in the drag based model to predict its arrival at the Earth. And here we have shown the estimated arrival time. This is the line marked with this is the estimated arrival time, which is from the using kinematics plus the drag based model. Kinematics estimated using the HI observations, heliospheric measure observations, and then we use the drag based model. So this is the arrival time. Here this is the in situ measurements of CME. We mark the boundary of these ICMEs by looking the proton beta and density, proton temperature, velocity, and the magnitude of the magnetic field, and the latitude and longitude of the magnetic field vector. So we follow the Jurvetson pattern, Jurvetson idea, how we can understand the magnetic cloud structure, cis region, and the leading edge of the CME. And here we have the assumptions that in HI observation, since we are tracking the brightest point, because when we are scaling the intensity of the resistant beam in the here images, we are actually not looking the always leading edge of the CME. We are looking the density enhancement in the CME region. So the predicted arrival time should match with the enhanced density or the peak in density in the in situ measurements. So here we can look that peak in intensity comes here, but the arrival time is here. So again we can evaluate how much errors is due to the drag based model, or this error can be also due to the estimation of kinematics in the HI field of view, that I will discuss. The second thing, to understand this gamma, since we are taking the projected image then it is very difficult to evaluate the cone angle of the CME, and from the two viewpoints we have again two cone angle. So again incorporating that both view direction and to understand the actual cone angle or the actual mass of the CME m, and there is not very reliable estimation of mass of the CME. So due to this changing mass, again this gamma can be changed. So this can again give the errors in the arrival time prediction, because this acceleration will change in the drag based model. So what we used, that we took the range of gamma, because we did many calculations and found that gamma lies between the 0.2 to this 2.0, this range. So we used this whole gamma from minimum to maximum range and evaluated how much errors can become in our estimation of arrival time. So here the estimation of arrival times error are this is some thick, so it is a difference of only few minutes, means changing the gamma from minimum to maximum, the arrival time prediction error is not very large from this maximum peak density. It can be also by changing the this gamma can affect the arrival time with significant error when the speed difference between the CME and the solar wind speed will be very large. So if this speed difference is large, the range of gamma can significantly affect the drag acceleration. But here in this case of 12 December, nearly the solar wind speed and this speed is nearly constant up to here. If you look, it is nearly coming to 350 or some 320, and this is nearly the solar wind speed. So using the drag based model for this event gives the less error for the range of gamma. We did the same calculations for all the CMEs in our selected events. Here we showed that these are 8 events, and these events are at the different time of the solar cycle, means at CME of 3 April and 3 April there is a harsh solar wind from the coronal hole, sometimes nearly these three events are in the very slow solar wind speed. So we have also the different ambient medium, and then we are applying our this model and this estimated kinematics to look its efficacy. So these are the results which so we can look that this here is the error in predicted arrival time at L1, and this is the error in predicted arrival time at L1. So this is the gamma, the range of gamma we have changed. Then error is coming from -3.4 to -3.9. For these events we have like something error, and sometimes errors can be large, like 0.6 to +3.2. So changing the gamma, we can look that if speed of CME is nearly equal to speed of the solar wind, then changing gamma is not affecting much. And also the same as the error in arrival time. The actual arrival time is marked at the in situ measurements, which is taken at the L1 point, first Lagrangian point. The minus value so that this velocity, this column minus value, so that the predicted velocity is lesser than the actual velocity. As the same way in the error in arrival time, the negative sign so that the predicted arrival is earlier than the actual arrival. So, but if we use only the core 2 observation, then we found that the errors in arrival time is very large, nearly for all events except 3 April. Means, and if you look here, the speed in the core 2 field of view and speed near the earth, we found that only that CME could be predicted very well using core 2 observation, in which the speed at the near the earth and in core 2 field of view is nearly equal, nearly 800 to 816. So are something like this 8 April also there is less error. Otherwise all events are having large errors if you use the core 2 velocity. Even this is the 2 velocity estimated in the core 2 field of view. It means we need to understand the heliospheric evolution of CME using HI observations. That HI observations can be used as inputs in the Dirac based model to estimate the actual arrival time. But from the tables we looked at, and also we have here the arrival time is also calculated using the polynomial fits. We estimated the kinematics up to 150 solar day. If we fit that distance and time profile in second order polynomial fit, and we can predict with that polynomial the actual arrival time, we look that again the error is large in compared to using Dirac based model. It means it is very useful to use the Dirac based model, which is the physics based model, the interaction between the CME and the ambient solar wind, to predict the good arrival time, means better arrival time than using others only core 2 observations or using only polynomial fit from the estimated height. So the analysis of 3 April and 8 April, what I showed here, that nearly it gives the good results only when that speed in core 2 field of view and near the earth, this is the near the earth, is nearly same. It means this CME has not been accelerated much. We again investigated why this speed is not decreasing. Like in the core 2 field of view it was 816, but up to earth it was only 800. So why it didn't? So we found that we in our study that there is a fast coronal hole on the central meridian which always push this CME. So it could not decelerate, and the speed is nearly 800 even up to earth. So we also need to understand in the Dirac based model this solar wind speed V. So this V can always change in from sun to earth at each point through the medium CME is propagating. This speed will change. So we need to quantify the ambient solar wind speed before coming its arrival to earth. So for the fast CME we found that, like for the 3 April CME, the good results come only when we put the speed nearly equal to the fast solar wind speed. Like I put here, we put here the 500, nearly 500 or 550. So if we put the 550, like this is the, because this statistical results has been, this gamma is statistical value from 0.2 to 2. With the same, we assume that the statistically the fast solar wind speed have nearly 550 to 500 or 600. So we also use that value as a ambient solar wind speed, where there is a chance to interaction of CME with the far solar wind. So if you look here that so here we can look that the polynomial fit can also give the better arrival time if we have tracked the CME up to a large distance, like in HI field of view. Like this event has been tracked only up to 150 solar radii, but if some event can be tracked nearly, it is very obvious if it can be tracked nearly 200 or 170, 180, then extrapolating this height can give the its arrival near the earth well. But again, even after extrapolating, like 7th October event, 7th February event, it has been like we can show here, this can gives this is giving the little better than even the using drag based model, because drag based model assumes has many assumptions, like mass of CME doesn't change after its estimation in core 2 field of view. We generally estimate the mass of CME in the core 2 field of view. So we again assume that after core 2 field of view, this mass is constant. But again, this mass can be changed due to the some mass injection from the sun, or due to the solar wind which has been piled up ahead of the CME. So overall, its mass can change. So but here is the discussions, like in geometric triangulation technique using heliospheric imager observations, we have assumed that the same feature is tracked from the both viewpoints, and which may not be possible for very wide CME or even narrow CME at large distances from the sun. Since we have tracked the CME from sun to earth or near the earth, it becomes little, the sentence can be, the assumption that we are tracking the same feature from both viewpoints may not be valid. And second, the CME geometry is not taken into account, which must be taken to understand whether the front part of CME is reaching the earth or trail part. Like here I have shown a cartoon. Suppose this is the CME. We have not taken the geometry into account, which may give a large error. Suppose this CME is going this direction and earth is somewhere here. So we are taking some density enhanced feature lying maybe in the leading edge or near the leading edge C3 region, but earth is hitting by the flank part of the CME. So again, this structure can give nearly the error of 12 to 15 hours. So we also need to understand which part of the CME is being hit by the earth. But again, this is very difficult because near the earth we have only certain spacecraft in the earth's orbit. So it is very difficult to make sure which part is intercepted. Even we know the whole this morphology of the CME using its multi-point observation, but all multi-point spacecraft like Stereo, ACE and WIND may not be near the earth simultaneously to map this CME in all direction. So again, this is a very large error to maybe gives very large error to mark the actual arrival time. And we are comparing here our predicted arrival time with the actual arrival time. So we must be very certain that whether actual arrival time is marked correct. And CME has many structure, like it has the shock ahead, then have the C3 region, then have the cloud and this magnetic flux rope. So looking the in situ data, we can also mark the cloud and which part is being intercepted. Like here I have shown the magnetic cloud has been marked using the Burlaga criteria. So this region is showing the smooth rotation in the theta magnetic field vectors. So and also the very less plasma beta, less than 1. So using some criteria we mark the magnetic cloud, sheath and leading edge of the CME. Then we calculated its actual arrival time. Only that CME has been taken in which there was a reliable marking in the in situ data. So we could compare our actual arrival time to the predicted arrival time to understand whether this model is working. And second, the error in our this technique, like what we have tracked here CME. If we look here, we have tracked the CME using this J map at each points. Even in tracking, manual tracking, we are having some errors in elongation angles. So in A we have the some errors, in B we have the same errors. So resultant, again we are doing the 3D reconstruction. So this error in the manual tracking of this feature may give the errors again. So to quantify that error, either it can be done that we can repeat the tracking many times and we can look the statistical error, or we generally took the error of 5 pixels. Suppose we assume that if we are using the 5 pixel errors in A and B, so how much difference can come in the estimated parameters. So here we found that even using the error of 5 pixel in manual tracking can give this very large errors, very small errors. The error in direction is very small and distance is very small. Since velocity is calculated from the derivative of this distance points, so it's very shows very large errors. Here we also investigate that the 3 April CME is partly governed by the fast solar wind speed, high speed stream from the coronal hole. So there is a very weak drag force, means since the fast solar wind have the less density, so the ambient medium becomes less dense and also the fast wind. So the resultant drag force will be less on that 3 April CME. So we found that its speed is not decreased as much it should, even being very large structure, because we also concluded from our this study that very narrow CME feels very less drag force because it's very narrow, so the ambient medium doesn't affect much its motion. But if the structure is very large, like cone area is very large, so and large, and if the CME is dense, so it will have a very large interaction with the solar wind, so its speed will be largely governed by the drag force. In our assumption in the drag based model, we are assuming that after 20 solar radii the Lagrange force is not driving the CME. Again it is assumption, but various studies has shown that Lagrange force is not very effective after 20 solar radii, so only the drag force is there which can drive the CME. So our studies show that transient speed of tracked feature at 1 AU can be well predicted using the geometric triangulation technique with the help combined with the drag based model. And exploiting wide angle imaging observations can help to understand the relating remote sensing observations near the sun to its in situ observations near the earth. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm not in the field, but you mentioned something like Bulgaria criteria.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Because it's being recorded.
No, I understand question.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, question. Yeah. She asked that what are the criteria to mark the what are the Burlaga criteria which can mark the region of magnetic cloud using the in situ data. Actually, Burlaga assumed that, again it not assumption, using the Helios spacecraft data, which was they did a lot of statistical analysis, and Klein and Burlaga, actually this is a paper in 1980 and 1982, these are famous papers. They found that using their statistical analysis, the magnetic cloud are the regions with the enhanced magnetic field having plasma beta less than 1. Since the magnetic field is very high, the plasma pressure will be very low, so beta is very less. So they found that if it is less than 1, that region will be marked as the magnetic cloud. And second, the magnetic field vector, since magnetic cloud always have the flux rope, so if the spacecraft will cut through a point, the magnetic field vector will change, it's theta, the latitude longitude will change smoothly. So it is the second criteria. Again, next point, that magnetic field is very high, nearly greater than 10 nanotesla, plasma beta is very less, and there is a rotation in the magnetic field vector like nearly 35 degree, more than 35 degrees should be. So that region they marked as a magnetic cloud with these 3 points. But again we need multi-point observation to understand actually theta change for this CME or not.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.